Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. How is everyone? I hope everyone's doing good. Thank you, team. Thank you, Jane, for joining. I do appreciate you guys coming in. Today is an awesome stream. I'm hoping it's going to be an awesome stream. I'm sure it's going to be an awesome stream. We have the awesome Hugh Jarsz. How are you doing? How are you doing this morning?
Greetings and salutations, Roxy. Yes, I'm doing pretty awesome, and by size, I'm awesome anyway. I'm glad I'm not in one of those little tiny spaceships. I just wouldn't have fitted.
Well, this is the ship of the imagination, so it fits to what we need it to fit to. So you're good.
Good.
Just remember, we're in space, so it can be as big as we like. We don't take up much space.
In my case, it needs to be.
Well, as long as you're comfortable, that's all good. You're one of my first guests in a while to actually come on board with me, so welcome to the ship.
Awesome, yeah. I'm liking the the slave girls jelly wrestling in the corner over there.
Well, I'm glad you like it. Oh my goodness. But yes, it's good. Hi, Clive. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. So tonight's going to be great because I'm not going to lie, this is the first time Hugh and I have actually been on any kind of communication besides the DMs trying to organize. So we don't really know each other, but I think this is going to be still a really good stream. Don't you think?
Well, yes, I just wandered down the corridor and took the wrong door and suddenly I'm here.
You were teleported here. You forgot about that.
Yeah. I probably used all of NASA's energy budget to teleport me, but yep, here I am.
Well, we'll see. Maybe let's hope they don't have to send us that. Let's start that again. Let's hope they don't send me a bill.
Well, no. Well, they won't get anything out of me anyway, so yeah.
Nothing out of me as well, because all of my money is imaginary. Anyway, so as we all know, there are 4 questions for the show. We will discuss them as usual. These were done weeks before, actually not even weeks before. These were done last year sometime. The answers myself and Hugh will be giving are, as usual, raw answers. Normal conversation, kind of, there are no right or wrong answers. So if anyone is judging someone on their answer, this is your first warning and final warning. If I'm just not taking any crap with, not the usual trolls like Clive Wells, but the trolls that actually come in to harm your stream. And I'm not taking any crap from haters either. So I want this to be a fun stream. I want everyone to have fun. I want this to be an interesting stream. So allowing these people to be included in the stream is not going to make it fun at all. So anyway, let's go from there.
Right. Well, why would there be any haters? Because everyone loves Hugh Jarsz.
I've never heard of someone that doesn't. So you're right there.
Yes, even Team Skeptic, I got him on tape saying, I love Hugh Jarsz and I cannot lie.
Well, there we go. As long as you've got the proof, cannot be undone. There we go.
Evidence, at least, yes.
All right, so if you guys in the chat have your own, obviously own opinions, own answers, I will pop them up on stream or we will address them, myself and Hugh will address them as we go. I want to now try and leave them before we move on to the next question, so we can, not dawdle on a question. As much as I love to talk about the question, I don't want to get to a point where we're like, let's move on kind of thing. I want to try and keep it fast paced and keep it moving, So let's leave the answers and statements to the lot before we move on to the next question. Is that okay with you, Hugh?
Yeah, sure. I expect this to be a bit stream of consciousness, so we'll see what happens.
Let's see how it goes. Facty, thank you for coming, and no buts, just do. And Skydiver Tanner, also thank you so much for joining. It's really appreciative. Alrighty, shall we get going on the questions?
Let's do it. Let's get down and dirty.
Alrighty, here we go. Question 1. Is it possible to prove that other people besides yourself have consciousness? So I think this is another bunch of consciousness questions coming from last week. So wow. I did not organize these questions. I have said that these are just random. I did not organize these. I've just put them forward a time for each show. So if they come from if they are the same as last week or the previous show, then we have to just go with it, because I'm not going to reorganize the questions just to suit everyone.
Well, yes, but I've got to ask you a question first. Are you Siri? Because that was like you were listening into our conversation just a few seconds ago when I was talking about a stream of consciousness, and suddenly we got a question about consciousness. How did that happen?
Well, no one's ever seen myself and Siri in the same room, so...
That's true. That's a good response. I like that. Okay, so is it possible to tell if other people have consciousness? That's something I've actually contemplated a bit to some extent. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you interact with other people and they come back with responses that your brain apparently doesn't come up with. Are we the only things in the entire universe? And if that's the case, which of us are the real one? That's an interesting idea. Mm. I'm thinking, I think the short answer is no, because I don't think there's any way of telling, even if it was the case, which I presume it is the case, because that's what it appears to be. Clive Wells is talking dirty in the chat.
I see so.
I don't know. Yes. So. Anyway.
As long as he keeps his clothes on, it's all good.
Yes, that should be a law. And I've lost my stream of consciousness. I was talking about consciousness in other people. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's many ways of looking at that. It's hard to pick one. The thing that comes to me most is that whole simulation theory, which is completely unprovable. Mm-hmm. And that we're sort of, and I don't mean Matrix. I really don't mean Matrix, because that was that movie did not get that right. The simulation theory is the idea that really that the natural evolution of any race is that we all become, for want of a better term, computerized. Or a visiting benevolent alien race comes and finds us, sees we're about to die out or whatever, and a way of keeping us going and our culture going and that kind of thing. They put us in this simulation, and everything that happens is actually simulated, although we have free will within that to interact. And it's like Arthur C. Clarke, I think it was, or Isaac Asimov, I can't remember which, did a story on this. The idea was when things were tough, when things were good, people would download themselves into bodies, and they'd be like children again, and the whole world was new to them. And then as their memories came back, things would make more sense to them, and they'd remember things that they'd done in their past life, for want of a better term. And when things got tough, they all went back into the databanks to be born again at some point in the future. And it was a way of controlling population and things like that. So it's sort of like a sensible idea if the technology is available to make it happen. And that to me is really a good link to the idea of, can we tell other people have consciousness or not? Because there's a few ideas bouncing around my head right now, and I can't say all of them at once. Because as far as we can tell, all the interactions we have with other people are not from us. So that tells us that they're coming from somewhere else. So that's kind of evidence for other consciousness existing, but I've had dreams where things have happened and you think, where did my mind come up with that? So that's evidence for the other way around. Your mind can come up with things without your permission, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So yeah, it's fascinating. Now all of the ideas I had a few seconds ago just popped out of my head again. I hate getting old.
Don't worry. I know the feeling of I used to have a very good memory, and then just I don't know what it was. All of a sudden, all my ability to retain information just died. It just really died. But that's another subject.
But yeah,
I think
it's a fascinating idea, isn't it? Yeah, let me hear what you think.
I think it's possible to prove because I mean, if they weren't conscious, they wouldn't be making the decisions they make. Like you wouldn't have made the decision to come onto my show if you didn't have a consciousness. But now we've got to ask the consciousness that we're thinking about, is it the consciousness of making decisions that what your conscience thinks after you've made a decision? Or is it the consciousness of actually living type of conscious, being a consciousness kind of. So some organisms I don't think have the consciousness to my brain has just died now. I'm not conscious anymore.
But you mean that animals act on instinct is what you're saying, I think, rather than actually making decisions?
No, making decisions. Because consciousness comes from but yet again, also consciousness could be from actually being the difference between awake or asleep or in a coma kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going for, going for the decision side where we make decisions and you've got your conscience on you about it. So if you make a bad decision, you're going to have a bad conscience, or maybe not even, as it were, no conscience at all after making a bad decision, depending on the decision you made. So if just on that standard alone, I think that we all have a consciousness based on decisions. So if we've made a bad decision, most of us have that consciousness of what if, or I think I made a good decision, or that was a really crappy decision, and now it's going to weigh on me for the rest of my life, if or whatever the case is. Or if it's a case of actually being a conscious being, yes, that's an easy one. The human race is other people are conscious. They're not lying in. Not everyone's lying in a coma. So this question can go two ways.
It can go many ways, I think. But it's a big question. That's why you're asking it. So.
Yes. But yeah, again, these questions are also just as new to me as they are to you. So.
Yeah, it's a fascinating format. I don't know how you came up with these questions, but they're great.
Well, let me quickly then express that. I'm the type of person that likes deep conversations. I don't like how's the weather kind of conversations because it becomes monotonous. So I can't go and sit on everyone, say for instance, anyone in this chat, I can't go and sit on their bed at 2 a.m. and have this kind of discussion with them, or any of my friends. I can't just go sit on their bed and have a discussion with them,
Well, it's 4 a.m. here, so.
There we go. But getting to your place is going to be a bit difficult and quite costly. So this is the cheaper way to do it.
Well, it is, yeah. And it's an analogy for a simulation, really, because effectively we're meeting through consciousness, you might say. We're using voices to interact, which goes through electronic means to get to each other. But it's an amazing thing that we can talk in real time. I remember when I was younger that you can make a phone call, but you'd always have like a 2-second delay because of the speed of light. It would have to go up to the satellite and then come back down because cables weren't as prevalent back then. Speed of light's still a factor, but it's nowhere near as much as it was for going out to a geostationary satellite. So, are Firths conscious, Clive Wells? Very good question.
One we can leave for at the end. That would be a good one to discuss quickly. But if for instance, I'm just going to talk about the people in the chat and yourself and myself. Oh, okay, I have to leave myself out of it. Yes, you are a conscious being.
Thank God.
I think it's a fascinating question. Is it possible to prove that other people besides yourself have a consciousness?
Yeah, well, go on.
I don't know. It depends on the decisions some people have made. So let's just stick with the people in the chat. Some of the decisions that they've made, some of them, it may weigh on them. Some of them it won't. Not doing this or not doing that, or doing this, doing that. It depends on what they've done or what they haven't done may weigh on them. So
I think whether it weighs on you or not is different from whether or not they're conscious. Weighing on it is, emotion and thought are two different things. And it weighing on you is really the emotion side of things. Emotion and thought are intertwined, of course. Every decision we make has emotional elements. And that's why we come up with science, a method, a way of reducing the emotional side of things so that we get objective answers. And it's something Firths don't understand. But yeah, so that was starting off so good, and then I've forgotten where I started from. Emotion and thought are two different things, but intertwined. So yeah, you're saying that it weighs on them, but that's the emotion of it, of their decision, of the consequence of their decision, is affecting them. But take that away, and it doesn't weigh on them, but they're still conscious.
Yes,
was the point I was going to make.
Yes. Well, I mean, the question doesn't stipulate if it's emotional or not either. So.
Well, you said weighing, so that's the emotion.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but again, it doesn't ask about emotions either. So. That's why I said it could either go, stuff weighing on you, having your consciousness weighing on you about decisions you've made or not. So if it's it could be just the consciousness of actually being not being in a coma and actually being able to make decisions. Because even in the animal kingdom, even though it is instinct, it's still a decision an animal has to make to go after the prey that they need to eat.
Or the corgi's decision to go after a ball when you throw it or not.
And sometimes there's no decision; it just does. Toy, let's go.
Well, it's effectively looks like it just does, but they still make a decision.
Yes.
It's fascinating watching dogs in particular, how they figure out things. It's great. But there are other things like insects, basically. Something I can eat comes in within range. Eat the thing. There's not a lot more thought to it than that. So.
Yes.
Still a decision, though, I guess. So.
Yeah, no, I think so as well. But okay, so is there anyone in the chat that would like to discuss anything? I know we came across the flat Earth one. Having a consciousness. So I'm going to bring it up again. Let's quickly, for like 2 minutes, debate this one. Are flows conscious?
Yes, well.
2 minutes and go.
The short answer is yes, they are, because they're still human beings. They might not act like thinking human beings, but they're still human beings. So the short answer is yes.
Yes.
They seem to, and they're making choices to deliberately ignore evidence and what's right in front of their very eyes. The classic example was Nathan Thompson watching a rocket take off. And you say, oh, no, that's fake. It's a balloon. You're watching it right in front of you, you dickhead.
And you're one of the lucky ones that actually gets to watch it in front of you, you just seem to take it for advantage.
Yeah.
Some of us that are in the southern hemisphere that can't get to that in time or can't get to it, can't even watch that. or you don't even any parts of America that you know, if you're not in the specific spot of the launch, you can't see it. So the fact that he got to see it and has made that decision that it's fake, it's just he's being outright stupid, and he has taken for granted that not many people get to see such a thing. Seeing it on the internet is all fun and dandy, but seeing it in real life must be something so extraordinary.
Yeah, and because you get a whole lot more, you get the sound, you get the heat wave that comes through, and all that sort of thing. But what was the biggest thing about that was his sociopathic tendencies to. Well, I'm describing it as that. That's my opinion, not anyone else's. That ruined the experience for everyone else. Who, many of them would have travelled a long way to go and see that. Some might have come from overseas. Some might have come from South Africa and Australia to enjoy that rocket launch. And it doesn't matter what his opinion of it is, especially his willfully ridiculous opinion. They were there to enjoy it, and some idiot saying, "Oh no, it's a balloon, it's fake." And then he was surprised that people were saying that he was ruining it for them. It just. To me, that's sociopathic. I can't see how you can interpret it any other way.
Yeah. No,
but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I've kind of given up on flat earthers because it's just, and I think I've already expressed this already on quite a few streams, is I just think the fact that they are willing to deny exactly what is in front of them, or pretend to see, pretend that that the earth is flat or whatever. To me, that is just outright ridiculous. It really is. And there's no point in wasting your breath on doing it. Why bother even debunking them anymore? Because there's just no point in it.
There's no point for them. There is a point for people on the fence who, through either lack of experience or lack of education, don't know any better. And that's why we need to debunk it. We might not like it. We might be bored with it because they never come up with anything new, because there isn't anything new for something that's not real. But we know that it's human nature that if you don't know any better and you hear someone being really adamant about a particular idea, banana can outwit a flirt. Thank you, Clive Wells. Someone's really passionate about it, because passion persuades. Or something like Eric Dubay, who drones on, he's basically hypnotizing you into, agreeing with him. And they fall for it, and then that means they make other bad decisions like anti-vaxxing and anti-mask and things like that, which affect everyone. So that's why it's important to debunk them. But yes, it gets stale after a while.
Yes.
Having to deal with ridiculous arguments that no human being with more than 2 brain cells should ever allow to flow through their head.
Yes. No, I mean, I do understand the whole idea of on the fence. I really do. There are some people that are on the fence about certain, whichever conspiracy there is that they've come across. I understand that. I really do. I was on the fence about certain conspiracy theories, and I'm not going to get into it now. It's going to take up too much of our time. But, and it came to watching a few people talk about it, or listening to a few people talk about it, and hearing both sides and understanding both sides. And then I'm like, okay, here's where I'm not on the fence, and here's which side I'm on because of this reason, So it's just all about deciding and making that conscious decision to go that way, to believe the people, believe the research that you've read,
Yeah, but there's things I believed in the past that I now don't believe, or things I didn't believe in the past which I do believe, because for the reasons I said. At that point, I didn't have enough experience or enough knowledge, or a combination of both, to be able to know better. Life is a journey, and we learn things on the way. So yeah, it happens to us all. It's part of the human condition.
Yes. And I think Jane makes a good point on it. Just show it again. She says people are usually aware of exactly what they are doing. So that falls under being having a conscious about what you're doing.
Yeah.
or what you've done.
I'm hoping Jane Thompson, he's no relation to Nathan.
No, I don't think so. Because she's Thompson and he's Thompson.
Oh, I haven't seen that name before. Okay.
So,
with an M on the end. Okay.
Yes. So that's why I know
thank goodness
there's
for
no
Jane.
relation. All right. I'm ready to move to the next question. How about you?
Yep. I think we've done enough on that one.
Awesome. Let's go for it. Question 2 is, science says evolution is correct. Do you think that if humans went extinct, another species as intelligent as humans would evolve?
Well, I can only offer an opinion. I can't know for sure.
This is all of your opinion.
Yeah.
It's all your opinion. Clive Wells will come with the answer. Don't worry about that.
He's a mathematician. He's not an evolutionist. Evolutionist in the sense that he believes in it, but we'll accept it as science, I should say. Not believe. We don't have belief in science.
Yes. Sorry, quickly. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let me just quickly say hi to a few people that have come in. Tusk, Microraptor, Mr. Andrat, I've already said everyone. Okay, and Christian as well. Welcome to the stream, guys. Good to see you. And also Marius, welcome to the stream, dude. How are you doing? I hope the cold is treating you well. Anyway, let's carry on. Sorry.
So would new intelligent life evolve if humans went? It's odd. It's if we describe ourselves, well, I mean, you could say that intelligent life already has evolved. We've got whales and dolphins and things like that, and it's a matter of degree, isn't it? I think dogs are pretty intelligent. People say dogs are as intelligent as an 8-year-old child. And would you say an 8-year-old child isn't intelligent? In the concept of intelligent life. So it already has. I guess it's a matter of what you describe. If you, to the same degree as we are, as we think we are, at least, then I think it's probably inevitable. To spacefaring, you might say, might be a good test for it. It depends on the need for it. Our intelligence, from what I understand, developed basically from becoming upright was the first step, because that left our hands available to do lots of other things and less likely to be damaged and things like that, and that gave us a competitive advantage, and that made it easier for us to track down meat and things like that. We could run faster and so on, and meat helped our brains grow, and that meant we could find new food sources and things like that.
And grow our own food.
And grow our own food, yes, eventually, in 10,000 years ago. But I guess it depends on whether you consider intelligent life to have not evolved for the 4 billion years up till 3 million years ago when we evolved. And, some people say that the dinosaurs were intelligent to some extent. They got wiped out. So we might be the exact example of that question, the answer to that question that you've made. Dinosaurs got wiped out and we evolved later on. So evolution depends on conditions, really. Is there a suitable species that has the building blocks of becoming an intelligent person, whatever intelligent means? And are they in a situation where that intelligence will be developed through time and several generations? So in that sense, it's kind of inevitable, but it depends on whether or not you accept that those 4 billion years didn't have any intelligent life, because why would it happen for us and not for all the life forms up to that point? Because there's plenty of life forms as complicated as we are. It's a combination of things, and I'm not sure how much of a miracle our evolution was compared to other things. So, like I said, the dinosaurs could have been intelligent, some people say.
Well, I mean, I can agree. I really can agree. I mean, the question, does stipulate another species as intelligent as humans would. So in time, I do agree. In time, another species could evolve to be as intelligent or even more intelligent, excuse me, than us. So
wouldn't be hard.
I think it's possible. Evolution doesn't just stop because now humans are at the top of the food chain. Evolution is still happening. So, one day, we could become extinct, and the next species has a chance to evolve and become as intelligent or better than us. I think us as humans are keeping the rest of the food chain down because we think we're better than everybody. The rest of the species. We definitely
use more resources as a whole than any other species on the planet. I mean, insects, of course, outnumber us by a long way, but they're only tiny things mostly, and they eat plant life, which just regenerates. So they're pretty self-sustaining in that regard. But and we know we're self-sustaining too. We know how to feed ourselves. We know how to maintain our environment. We just don't do it as much as we should. But yeah, it's. And I've forgotten where I was going with that. I was too busy making the point to remember what the point was. How about that?
Oh, goodness gracious.
Microraptor has some wisdom for you.
Yes, has an inflatable Aussie in her backyard that she calls Mr. Jarsz. Yes.
I wonder what an inflatable Aussie looks like.
Well, when you find one, please send it over to South Africa. I would love to see that.
If he means an inflatable, facsimile of me, that'd be like a small moon.
But then a small moon. Where's the gravity going?
I have my own gravitational field. It helps with picking things up off the floor too, because I can't reach very far.
Oh my goodness gracious! Oh,
it was like that scene from Star Wars. That's no moon. That's a Jaws.
Oh, that's cool. But I think you're right, and I think that the evolution will keep going, even when we are gone. There is no stopping it. Yeah. So that's right.
I was going to say just mammals evolved as a result of the KT extinction. So the dinosaurs went, and that gave mammals the opportunity to thrive and eventually become us. So.
Yes. And I think that is so fascinating, and it kills people that are anti-evolutionists, if you want to call them that, that think that coming from a rodent or a mammal is below them, and think that they're better than that, and that didn't come from that. They want to deny it because they can't imagine how we came from a rodent over, especially the young Earth creationists. There wasn't enough time, for that to happen.
Well, so what MC Toon says, your inability to understand it is not an argument against it.
No, it's not. And I agree with that. Just because I don't understand, maths, or as most of our, I call it maths. We in here in South Africa, we call it maths. Everywhere else calls it math for some reason. But just because
English speakers say maths.
Yes, we do.
Americans say something else.
Math. It's like they forgot how to say S. But anywho.
Well, it was too hard for them.
But I think that just because I don't understand completely evolution myself. I have been a floof and looking at some videos to try and understand it. But I'm not just looking at one and saying, is that how it works? I have looked at a few to make sure, or read a few articles to make sure that they all correlate, So just based on that, I believe in evolution. There was plenty of time for everything to happen as it has. And Now I've also forgot where I was going with that.
Well, yeah. Well, you don't believe in evolution. You accept it as valid science.
That's what I meant. Yes.
Yes. Because that's falling into their trap. They believe things. So
Yes.
it's important to make that distinction, I think. And now I forgot where I was going. God, it's 4:00 in the morning. What do you expect? Well, 4:36 now. So yeah.
It's been a long weekend, so I understand. So for me, it's my brain has been dying. But I do want to quickly push in what Marius has said. He said the thing I think the definition of intelligence will change based on what the new dominant species is.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, blue whales are a dominant species because, well, they do have enemies, I guess. Sharks do attack them. But most things leave them alone. So are they a dominant species in the ocean? And we leave them alone. We want to go and we watch them, but we don't do much with them anymore. And that's a good thing.
Yes.
But yeah, so it's. I mean, if spacefaring was the ability to send things into orbit was the marker, I don't think the dinosaurs did that, and no other species in the history has done that. But the fact that it took 4 billion years to get to here doesn't mean that it won't happen in another 4 billion years, does it? So, with something else.
Well, let's just try and survive the next 100 years, shall we?
Well, I've been saying that for the last 50 years.
Yeah, look at me being all pessimistic and crap.
I think we've got a good chance of surviving it. It's I think a lot of the media post a negative point of view. I mean, when I was a kid, I basically thought I was going to die in a nuclear holocaust. And that's still possible, but politically it seems ridiculous now. When it becomes when it makes sense politically, and that's a very bad measure to do it, that threat might come back again. To be more realistic, I should say. But yeah, at the moment, I can't see there being an armed conflict, a World War III type conflict with military involved, because the three biggest powers, Russia, China, and the US, they're all customers of each other, and they've got too much to lose, so they're not going to do the things that will make them lose it. There's just no real reason for it anymore. Yes.
Well, this is my question then. What happened to the intelligence if they do push that button?
Well, the end of that particular episode of intelligence, and then maybe it's like the mammals rose after the dinosaurs, maybe another one will come along.
Well, look, I mean, if a nuclear holocaust does happen and all humans die out, or there are only a couple left, for instance, like in the game Fallout, people are surviving. Some don't survive, some do. Some become, so irradiated they become ghouls, or they become mutants and such. So, and then the intelligence dips and dies between that as well. So, but then it would give rise to a new kind of species that will, take over and become the most intelligent. But I think that's only if all humans are wiped out. If there are still humans left, they will still be the dominant, whether they are surviving by day to day or not.
Yeah, there won't be much left to dominate, but yeah,
they will still dominate because the human race will move to anywhere to try and survive anyway.
What I think of it is fun to think about, though, is what species could potentially become the new intelligent species. Intelligent amoeba, maybe, or intelligent grasshopper, or something like that. Intelligent jellyfish. They don't even have a brain.
I like Skydiver Tanner's answer. Cat world domination.
I thought the cats were already in charge.
Touche.
Yeah. Dogs have masters, cats have staff.
There we go. I have two bosses, so.
And the cats are proof that the world isn't flat, because the cats would have pushed everything off the edge by now.
There we go. There we go. I've always said that. But now Clive also has a good comment here. It says human level intelligence would need to confer on evolutionary advantage. So it depends on the planet's environment and the challenge that such a species would face.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to earlier on. We evolved because of certain conditions, and it depends on the amount of time and what those conditions are. And there'll be conditions which will steer away from intelligence, more a hive or whatever. A corgi's in charge. Now, there's a thought microraptor. It just depends on the conditions at the time and how long it needs to get to the point where that sort of life evolves again. So.
Oh, could be the machines actually take over, as Clive says.
Well, that's another thing. That's another big idea too. I think eventually we will become cyborgs to some extent, and maybe Borg-like. Who knows?
There we go. There's your answer.
We're already on the path to that. We have, people have artificial hips and things like that, and we can pretty much replace most body parts already. And who wants to live with pain when you can get a little bit of machine or a pacemaker or whatever, things like that?
Yes.
And that's basically becoming a cyborg, because machines are being part of your body. And then it'll get to the point where the replacement is better than what you have originally. And that's when people will be choosing to lose arms and legs and things like that to get artificial ones, and eventually artificial bodies, and depending on how far the technology goes, I guess. But I can't imagine, you can't really replace the brain. So you'd have a brain surrounded by a constructed body, whether it's, I'm not thinking Terminator or anything like that. I'm thinking it'd be much more realistic, because that's what our brain is used to. But yeah, I think and that would be the end of pain, and well, you'd still have pain, so you know that something's wrong, but you'd be able to switch it off. That's the most annoying thing about pain. Yes, I know I've got a problem, so stop giving me pain. I've got the message, but it doesn't work that way. You've got to take a pill to stop it. But yeah, as you get older, you'll want that more and more, and then the population becomes an issue, because everyone's living for a long, long time. So resources you need for so many people. Although if you're a cyborg, you just need to plug into electricity, and they can come from solar, I guess. So who knows? There's lots of things that could happen. It's fun to think about.
That sounds like a very big business opportunity for Tesla.
Yeah, I'm not sure the technology will be available in Elon Musk's lifetime, but we'll see how we go.
Well, he's an essay boy, so give him a chance, please.
He's what? Sorry?
He's an essay boy, South African.
He's South African?
Yes.
Oh, I never picked that.
He was born in Pretoria.
Oh, right.
He left before he was before he joined the army. Before they were called in to join the army. That's all I know about him.
Okay.
I just know he's an essay boy and left before they called him into the army. So just give him a chance, guys. Let's just give him a chance. It's good to know that there is intelligent life in South Africa.
He's not an Afrikaans, is he?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Because we know what happens when the Afrikaans are in charge. So
that one you can explain to me off air, okay? So Mario says define intelligence, though, else the answer would be very wide.
Well, absolutely, and that's why I sort of set the standard of space travel. If you get to the point where you can get into space, then that's what I was thinking. We were thinking of.
I think space travel is a standard at the moment, because that's where we're trying to get at the moment.
Yeah, it's also a human standard though, so that might not be a good standard. We think we're intelligent because we can get into space, and no other species has ever done that. But that might not be the same standard a whale has. Maybe their standard is to get into a lake on a mountain or something, because they can't swim up the river.
Yes, or it just could be to try and use tools.
Yeah.
Or use them properly, because I've seen photos of someone in this country carrying a bag of cement and carrying a wheelbarrow.
Yes, that's proof that humans aren't intelligent, isn't it?
Yes. I've seen a photo of a flatbed. I think it's called a semi truck, an 18-wheeler that has sand on it, held down by straps.
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah, that's a good meme, that one.
So, the intelligence, and I'm not even talking about floats, I'm just talking about intelligence throughout the human race. Like that is, rather, if you want to keep sand, rather put it in a truck that you would store, like that's closed on 3 sides, or 4 sides, 5 sides, 6, no, 1, 2, 3 dice. What's it? 4 sides, 6, 5 sides. There we go, 5 sides. My math died this evening. So like a truck that you store things in, you just close the doors. Rather put sand in there, then at least it's not going to go anywhere. But it's also, you got to think about weight and such. So did I just lose everybody with mine?
Well, I'm not sure where you were going, to be honest.
Instead of putting it on a flatbed with straps, put it in something that's enclosed.
Oh, right, yes.
Sand. Okay. So let's see what Skydiver Tanner says. He says, maybe it will be something microscopic. They'll attack us from the inside out. COVID is a microscopic alien taking over the world. I have no proof, so it's true.
First standard, yep.
Oh my goodness. If we all live for a long time, we'll have to put up with the flows for even longer. Yes. Clive Wall says he's not a fan of Elon Musk. I think each to their own. I don't have enough about him to not like him or like him at the same time. I don't know about his personality, but what I think he's trying to do is good in terms of just getting rockets into space, making them reusable. That to me is good, and that's at the moment all I know. I haven't really looked much into it. What else? I think that's it. Team Skeptic wants citation from you. You'll need to ask him from what?
Citation for what? Yeah.
There we go. Okay. His understanding for physics is very dodgy. I'm not too sure who that was for.
And what about?
Yeah. Jane, she says, would another species take our place at the top be so bad considering what humans are capable of? No. Absolutely not.
Yeah. That's a little bit of a negative thing, because humans are capable of bad things, but they're capable of tremendously good things too. So, it's always a balance, I guess. What's the net effect?
Yes, and balance is very good. Balance is good. I believe that. But, if we are so good, why are we still not doing something about global warming? Plastic in the ocean. We have to wait for the heroes to do something before our governments even do anything. The random 4 people that started a foundation to get plastic out of the ocean, why isn't the government doing anything about it? I think
governments never do anything.
No, I know that, and that's a problem.
It's always individuals that make things happen, always throughout history.
But why is it always like that? Why can't there be like a huge group of people starting something like this instead of 4 guys deciding to look after the ocean by themselves? It's just, that's what I think is terrible, is that it takes that the governments just don't want to get involved either, because why? It costs money to do that kind of thing.
Well, it costs our money is the point.
Yeah,
they survive on taxpayer money, so they've got to spend the money in a way that taxpayers want, and taxpayers want things like hospitals and schools and things like that first. Yeah, but like I said, it's individuals. Elon Musk has his $100 million challenge, $100 million to clean up the atmosphere, basically. That's how things start. You tap into human ingenuity.
Yes.
And so governments don't do that. That's not what they're about. They're about the next election, or maintaining, if they're a dictatorship, maintaining their position against all comers. So.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so team hasn't got back to you about what citation he is needed from you. So shall we move on?
Okay.
Awesome, because I think we've already spoken about that to a point where it's not going in circles. But that's just me. Are you happy to move on?
Yep, let's go.
Awesome. Right, question 3 is, if life exists long enough on a planet, is intelligence and consciousness inevitable?
I think we answered that with the last one, to be honest. It depends on the conditions, whether there's a species that has the building blocks to get there, and the conditions that encourage the evolution in that direction, and enough time for it to happen, of course, before they get wiped out.
I think we have covered this, which is now okay. Team says the citation I needed was for humans sending dogs into space instead of humans.
No, well, that was Microraptor's claim, not mine. So.
Oh, how does he know, or is that from his global religion, globetrot religion? Okay, I see. Okay, alrighty. I thought that was
becoming a troll.
Looks like it. Looks like it. Okay, so yeah, I think it's inevitable for both of them to happen.
Well, given enough time, yeah. I mean,
yes.
People say that Europa has oceans, and there could well be life in that. But would they ever have the need to develop intelligence in that situation? We don't know, because we've never been there. We've been outside of Europa. We haven't been into the oceans.
Yes.
So I'm hoping there'll be a mission to Europa that sort of melts through the ice and sees what's down there in my lifetime. It'd be nice to have a little submarine going around Europa. And how it's going to transmit back is another question, but we'll see. And would they ever need to leave Europa and go into space and that kind of thing, especially with all the radiation around Jupiter and stuff? So yeah, it's an interesting idea. I'm not sure how we could ever answer it. I think given enough time and the conditions, the possibility, the answer is yes. But whether there will be enough time, and they might get wiped out before they get to that point, or whether the conditions will ever be in a situation where you'd need to develop intelligence, or it'd give you evolutionary advantage, who knows?
Well, to think of it, they won't need to leave because they're not polluting the oceans like we are. They're not polluting it. Yeah, as far as we know, they're not polluting their lack of they don't have much of an atmosphere to pollute anyway. But they're not polluting as far as we know. They're not polluting as much as we are, or polluting at all. So there's no reason to leave their planet if they could, if they're that intelligent. They could just be, what's it? That city that lives in the ocean, or that's in the
Atlantis.
Ocean. That's it. There we go. There could be Atlanteans living in that ocean.
It could be.
Who knows? We consider all microorganisms because that's probably all we could detect. Because they don't want us to detect it. But now I'm going into conspiracy realming. But it's still fun though.
Well, it's fun to speculate on things, yeah, as long as you don't assume you've got the truth when you've got no evidence for it.
I have no evidence of this. I'm just speculating and just going on the fun of it.
Yeah, and that's how humans advance. Really, we imagine things, and then we try to make them reality if we can see a way of doing that.
Yeah,
people in the 16th century didn't have any idea that we could get to the moon, and then people in the 18th century did, And
Yes.
now in the 20th, well, not we're the 21st now, but in the 20th century, we got there. And in the 21st century, we're going again. So, and we will for the next centuries to come. So, yeah, you've got to think of things before you can actually do them.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Now, I would like to quickly, let's elaborate on this question. Do we need both intelligence and consciousness?
Oh, that's an idea, isn't it?
Do you think we need both? Do you think one is without the other?
Well, I think to some extent, yes. Like I said, dogs have intelligence and they have a level of consciousness.
Hmm.
They're not on our level, so I guess it comes back to what you're comparing it to. And even insects have some intelligence; they can make decisions, and they have some sort of consciousness because they understand that they exist and they need to eat and things like that. So it depends on how much intelligence you're talking about, I guess. If you're saying if you can't have human level of intelligence without consciousness, the answer is no, because dogs have lesser intelligence, but they have consciousness. They're aware that they exist and things like that. And so do insects and, well, probably not amoebas. They're just like chemical robots, really. But yeah, I think if you mean, I guess I've answered the question. It depends on how much intelligence you're talking about. If you mean human intelligence, then they aren't necessarily separate. I think that's where I got to. 5 o'clock in the morning. Give me a break.
You've got your breaks. Don't worry. So Clive says, Team Skeptic, if space-time is quantized, then there is no meaning to discuss lengths shorter than the Planck length. I'm not sure about that. That's way over my head.
Well, Planck is a subatomic particle.
Yes.
So it's the smallest one you can get at the moment, but they keep finding smaller ones all the time. So at some point, it might get smaller. That's all he's saying. He's saying it's as small as you can get.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Something I'll need to maybe one day read up on. So then Team Skeptic says, can you define consciousness? Are you saying mental capabilities or self-awareness? The first time we were talking about it, we were talking about, can you prove that people around you have consciousness? So that's, I think, what we were basing everything that we're talking about now on. So based on decisions made or not making that decision, or making a decision not to do that. So yeah, basically making decisions. And do you want to elaborate on this one? On what Team is saying?
What do you mean, me to elaborate?
You're the only one I could talk to.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant in the chat.
Or anyone, more than welcome, but I'm asking you though.
Yeah, consciousness, we're trying to assume a human type of consciousness. And yes, probably self-awareness, but dolphins are self-aware. You give them a mirror and they recognize themselves. Dogs aren't, but they clearly have some intelligence. And so, yeah, I don't know. This is a field probably not in my ballpark, so I can't really make a judgment on that. Lots of ideas, though. It's good to think of the ideas.
So yeah, it's just, yeah, it could be both, Team. Your capabilities, your self-awareness, your and then also could delve into your consciousness, deciding to make decisions and such like that. Let's see what else there is. I think that's it. Only some intelligence. Sir Wolf, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you being here.
He's taking issue on canine intelligence. Yeah.
Only having some intelligence.
Yeah.
Well, I think in the canine world, I think depending on the canine will depend on the intelligence. Like I think a wolf is more intelligent than most domestic dogs.
Oh, I don't know. Wolf has to live out in the wilds where they could get killed at any moment and eat raw meat and things like that, whereas dogs can sit on their owner's lap and get fed and get treats and that sort of thing. I think that's a bit smarter.
Well, put a corgi in the wilderness and then what?
Corgi would probably beat up a wolf, to be honest.
Oh my goodness.
They can be vicious when they want to be. And same with chihuahuas. They're really vicious little things.
Well, when a dog bounces when it barks, I think so too. You know, I think it can be quite vicious if it needs to be. It needs to protect itself. It's so tiny anyway. So, but and I think the feline species as well. You know, I mean, you see videos of cats attacking themselves in mirrors, but you know, they still somehow taken over the human race as pets. You know, or as servants.
Yes. Actually, I thought that we're the pets of cats. Yeah.
You know, but then you get your lions and tigers and leopards and such, and you know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're the dumb ones. They're out in the wild when they could be sitting on the owner's lap in front of the fire or something.
Well, I mean, if it wasn't illegal to have a leopard, I would have a leopard as a pet. But however, my house is too small, so it would be animal abuse to have a leopard in my house.
Or you could have an ocelot named Babu.
A what?
Oh, you're not an Archer fan?
A what fan?
Archer? You don't even know about Archer? Wow.
No.
I think I don't know what South African Netflix is like, but ours has Archer on it. Archer is a animated series that starts off as a spy agency, and in it is a character called she's called many things, but Cheryl is her real name, and she's a millionaire or multi-millionaire. She got $500 million. She owns this massive mansion, in which one big room she keeps an ocelot called Babu. And that was named after Salvador Dali. He had an ocelot named Babu. But yeah, it's an on-running. It's a joke that goes through the whole show. So if you don't know the show, it's not going to make any sense to you.
No, I'm sorry. I don't really watch TV or still series and stuff. I am either doing stuff on my channel or playing games, or I'm on Twitch. So links in the description, guys, if you want to come watch me play. But yeah, I'm not really watching stuff. If I do, it's got to do with Scientology at the moment, you know. So yeah, I'm a bit stuck in the world at the moment. So
no, you got to follow your passions.
I do, and that's where my passion is at the moment.
Do your passions include an inflatable banana that you keep in your backyard and call Dr. Peel?
Even that would work if I even had a banana tree in my house, in my yard. But no, I don't.
Which city in South Africa are you in, by the way? Joburg, Pretoria?
Johannesburg. Yeah, I'm in Johannesburg.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
So you're at elevation, so bananas probably wouldn't grow there very well.
No, we're not as tropic, so we're not nearly as tropical as maybe Durban is. Maybe Durban would be there.
Yeah, probably Cape Town. Yeah, you could grow them in Cape Town. Cape Town's about the same latitude as Sydney from memory. And we used to grow bananas in our backyard when I lived in Sydney.
Okay. No. Yeah, no, we don't have that here. Who else? Maybe I'm just checking to see if I've missed anything. There we go. Clive Wells says self-consciousness is connected with your ability to identify yourself as an autonomous individual and be able to analyze your thought process. Agreed. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Analyze your thought processes. Yeah. So you think about your thinking.
Yes, and that's when overthinking comes ahead, and that's what I do a lot, is overthink everything.
Yeah. That's something you need to train yourself about, I guess. It's part of maturing to some extent.
I'm in the works of fixing that.
Yeah, it not necessarily needs to be fixed, but I'm not trying to put you down in any way. I'm just saying that as you move through life, you realise that you've thought way too much, and you'd learn to control yourself so that you only think an appropriate amount, but you only get that through experience. So.
No, I don't take it as offence. I am. I do overthink a lot about a lot of things, and it's not healthy for me. So trying to fix that is trying to trying to bring it down to a healthy state is what I'm trying to say. Because overthinking some things is good, but overthinking everything in your life is not good.
Yeah, and you're basically demonstrating what I said, that over time you learn what's an appropriate amount of overthinking and what isn't. And most overthinking is due to emotional things. You agonize over the love you lost or whatever, or the love you could have. And that's, you've put a lot of your thinking resources into that sort of thing. But thinking about how to get a monkey to space or something, you don't put a lot of energy into, so you just figure it out.
Yes, no, of course. Let's see what else. I did see another one here somewhere. Okay, so Team Skeptic also says, to elaborate on what Clive Wells said, consider this: humans are the only species on Earth that plans meals out days in advance. We consider options and rationalize decisions. Why? Because we can. Because we're intelligent enough to be able to do something like that.
No, I don't think that's the answer. Well, I disagree with your answer.
Okay.
It's because we can better use our resources by doing that. And that gives us an advantage because we're using our resources efficiently and we don't need as many.
Okay.
Anyway, that's my thought. You can disagree with that too.
I think, well, I mean, we can consider our options because we have that. We have the opportunity to consider meal options.
Yeah, but there's a reason why, is what I'm saying. It's not just because we can.
Okay. I'm stuck.
Well, we don't. What was question 3 again? It was we basically said question 2 answered question 3, didn't we?
Yes. So what I wanted to elaborate on was: can you live with intelligence and consciousness be? Do you need one without the other, or can you have one without the other? Do you need both?
Yeah, and I think our conclusion was, well, you have to define where the boundaries are between them both. We know there is, but they are intertwined a fair bit. And it depends on what level we're talking about of both, really. Because we said dogs have intelligence, dogs have consciousness to some extent. If we're talking about human levels of consciousness, well, that rules the dogs out. But we needed the intelligence to develop the consciousness, really, of that level. We didn't need the intelligence to develop a dog's level of consciousness. So, yeah, I don't know. It's Clive Wells says there's a distinction between consciousness and self-awareness. So, yeah, self-awareness, I think, is a trait of consciousness, but it's not necessarily the definition of it.
So Tim says, but is that what you mean by consciousness? The ability to be self-aware. That is one of the meanings. Yes. But is the human race a conscious race? Are we conscious?
By our own definition, we are.
Yes.
But are we correct?
I guess time will tell.
Yeah.
And then you were talking about Clive Wells. So there is a big distinction between consciousness and self-awareness. Yes.
Yeah, like I said, I think I would say self-awareness is a trait of consciousness, but it's not the definition of it. Consciousness is about how we interact with the world.
Yeah,
we're doing more than just instinct, as he said earlier, that we think about our thought processes. we can analyze our thought processes and come up with thought processes that, like you were with overthinking.
Yes.
And come up with new ways of thinking that will help give us an advantage and help us progress. So I guess we're using intelligence to do that, really, aren't we? So that sort of says that intelligence and consciousness help each other, at least.
Well, we need a bit of intelligence and consciousness to answer these questions, don't we?
Yes. I can't imagine Anthony Riley coming up with any answers like this. So I guess that defines that.
Yeah, I don't think he would be able to answer any of these questions.
He can't answer his own questions.
Does he even know how to answer his wife's questions? Intelligence is more Team Skeptic says the intelligence is more the ability to take in information from the world around us and add to our knowledge. A spider will hunt its prey. Is that intelligence, conscious, or self-awareness, or a combo?
Well, first of all, he's gender assuming the spider, but it's a combination of all, I'd say. You need all those things to be able to do it. Like I said, self-awareness is a subset of consciousness, I think. Well, the type of consciousness we're talking about, the human level.
Yes.
The spider probably isn't self-aware in that situation. So that sort of rules him out from that particular question. But it uses its level of intelligence to do it because it has to be competent to get prey. And the fact that it's hunting anything, it is consciousness. It's part of its existence and what it does in the world. But yes, it doesn't need to be self-aware to hunt prey, I think.
No, I agree with you. Completely agree with you. These are questions that could go into 300 different directions, and I think that's really awesome.
Oh, Clive just dropped the bombshell. Artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And artificial consciousness is the key bit there. A lot of people talk about. They say their system has artificial intelligence, which all they really mean is they've got advanced programming. They don't. Artificial intelligence really means that the program is capable of writing new programs so that it can expand its capability, which is, there's very little of that in the world. But people like the term artificial intelligence for their products because it helps them sell them more. So people use that term incorrectly.
Yes.
Which later on, when we actually have artificial intelligence, might cause a problem with people understanding. But that's the way marketing works, I guess. Artificial consciousness. Yeah, if something can write its own programs and to deal with the world, is that genuinely consciousness? How do we define it, I guess?
So to put into perspective, just because Siri listens to what we say in terms of getting the right ads to come to Facebook or whatever you're doing, that's not self-awareness. That's written into her programming to do that.
So Siri is definitely not self-aware.
No.
She doesn't seem to understand what you're saying most of the time.
Well, nor does Alexa, neither does Google. Yeah. And what's the other one? There's another one as well. But
people say that's artificial intelligence, which is not. It's just programming.
No, it is complete programming. It's listening to what the person says, translating it into the computer language, and then deciphering it and giving an answer. This is why they still take a bit of time to answer you. I mean, if you look at asking Siri what she thinks of Alexa, they've written in quirky comments to put in, for us for that answer. It's not like she is aware that Alexa exists.
No, it's this input, I give this output, and that's all it is.
Yes. So Skydiver Tanner says, speaking of intelligence, my dog just poured to get into the bedroom. The water bowl in the living room was empty, so he was notifying me to be able to get into the bedroom water dish. You see, that is intelligent because he knows where the other water bowl is.
Yeah, but it's a level of intelligence, like I was saying before. It's not human level intelligence; it's dog level intelligence.
Yes,
it's something the dog needs, and then he figures out what he needs to do to get what he needs.
Yes, but there's also a learning thing because he's learned that there's another water bowl in that bedroom.
Yeah, but if the dog looks in a mirror, he doesn't realise it's him or her.
Same with the cat; also doesn't realise it's them.
So it's not, self-awareness isn't part of that intelligence. So.
No, it's not. But it is aware that there is a water bowl in the bedroom.
Yeah, that's the same as you know, a lion knowing there's a water hole over that hill. It's just it's intelligence, but it's leaning more to the instinctual side than the consciousness side, I guess, or self-awareness side.
But it also could be learned because maybe they've been, you know, after a while they've been that for many times, so they know that there's a water hole there.
Yeah, well, yes, but learning's part of intelligence. I'm accepting that.
Yes.
But to be analysing your thoughts, I'm not sure that's needed to figure that out.
Well, I mean, if you look at a cat learning how to open a door that wasn't taught how to open doors, that's intelligence.
But it's a bit like Siri. Oh, I realise if I do this, that happens. So I want that to happen, so therefore I do this. You know, it's input then output.
So I guess it's watching the human opening up a door. Let me copy that.
Yeah. You know, like a parrot speaking too. The parrots are just mimicking.
Yes.
They're not thinking about what they're saying.
So a follow-up to Team's spider comment. Is a spider conscious that it is hunting, or is it acting on instinct? Baby scorpions must hunt the day they leave the mother's back. Does it hunt because it knows it's hungry, or is it hardwired by instinct?
Yeah, you'd have to establish the difference between knowing it's hungry and hardwired, because being hungry could be hardwired. Certainly, my own experience of life is that if I haven't eaten for a while, I get hungry, and that tells me to go and eat again. 3 or 4 seconds later. So it's you know, it's all a matter of degree, and I don't think we have the answers as to what degree answers the specific question. But I'm trying to avoid using the term spectrum. But you know, intelligence and consciousness and instinct, that's all on a spectrum.
Yes. But then you get people like myself that sometimes doesn't eat, but I eat because I'm not because I'm hungry, but because I have to keep my energies up.
Yeah.
Now, is that being self-aware?
That's planning ahead. That's planning ahead, which is showing intelligence. I'm not sure it's consciousness. I'm getting the feeling we've done this one to death, though.
Yes.
I'm sure we can get any answers here that we really will that satisfy us, but it's the journey, not the destination in this situation. Yes. It's great to think about these things.
All right, I think we can move on to question 4 then. Cool. So question 4 is, would it be more frightening to discover that humans are the most advanced species in the universe, or that we are far from being the most advanced species in the universe?
The first one, I'd say. If we're far from being the most advanced, then that means we have infinite opportunity. Whereas
does that make it scary, though? Does that make it frightening?
Oh, there's certainly a scary element to that. We don't know what's out there. But you know, if we're the most evolved life form in the entire universe, then what's the point, really? We don't have a lot to. Well, I guess we still want to go out there and see what's out there. So that means there's less likely for things to kill us. But I like the idea of being able to learn from other species and the advancements they've made that we haven't made yet. That to me is exciting, but it is scary because just like humans are capable of very, 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 very bad and very, very good, I'm sure other species are the same if they've evolved intelligence. It's just part of our nature, and it should be part of theirs if they've got to this point as well and beyond. So I think, which is more scary? I think the first one personally, because for me, it's not about whether things out there to kill you. It's just, I'd want there to be more, but it's going to be harder if we're at the top already, because we have to figure it out for ourselves, instead of borrowing from what people have gone. People out there have already done it.
Well, I mean, because we don't know if there's anything out there. I mean, personally, I do think, but because we don't know, we still have to figure it out ourselves, even if there is a more intelligent life form out there.
That's certainly the plan.
We still have to figure it out ourselves. They're not here helping us how to bend space-time. Now, that's a conspiracy theory. That's a conspiracy theory you're going down on there, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, there's certainly stories along those lines, but no evidence, so you can't really pay any attention to it.
No, because, as you say, no evidence. But I, for one, I think it is frightening if we're the most advanced, because again, as you say, what is the point then? Who are we trying to prove to? Ourselves, or are we trying to,
Well, I think we want to open our minds up into the possibilities, and if we're at the top of the chain, then we don't know what the possibilities are yet.
Well, I mean, if we're at the top of the chain, then I feel sorry for any human species below us, any other species below us, to learn from.
Well, yeah, I guess you've got to turn it around. And are they learning from us? I guess. Well, cats have got us licked, haven't they?
Because I mean, I don't think that the human race, with all its intelligence, is the best teachers. Because we keep repeating history, and we just don't seem to learn from the mistakes that we've made. It takes us
I'm always wary
to learn.
I'm always wary of thinking along those lines, of looking at the human race as a whole, because we're very, very good in some ways, we're very, very bad in some ways, and like I said, it's individuals that change the world, and yes, we have when the individuals who change the world for the better, they're always very, very good individuals. And should we be judged by the average or by our extremes? And even with the extremes, World War II, for example, I don't want to talk too much about that, but given the YouTube algorithm, but the very, very bad was met by the very, very good, or at least an equally strong force, and it was overcome. The fact that it arose in the first place is a black mark on human history, but the fact that we were able to overcome it in just 6 years and erase it from our, as a good idea going down that path, that's a plus on our side as well. People sort of forget that bit. It cost us a lot, but we got there. And it's, in most things in life, it's always a matter of how much you're willing to put into it before you can get the rewards from it. It's a cost benefit in pretty much everything in life, and that's not just humans. That's all forms of life go through that. Do I put myself at risk to kill a crocodile and then eat the crocodile? Because the crocodile could eat me as well, But yes. Or will I go for this soft little bunny rabbit over here instead as my prey? That's I think I've gone on a tangent now. So
it's all good. Yeah. But I was just thinking of the floof you were talking about. I like the fact that I like to think of the fact that we are not the most intelligent. I like to think that there is more intelligent out there because of the possibilities that they could teach us.
Yeah.
Faster than maybe we could teach ourselves or learn for ourselves.
And you like that because it's human nature to advance. It's human nature to, well, it's probably the nature of all life, I imagine, but we can only talk from our own experience. It's human nature to say that we're in one situation, we want to be in a better situation. And that's what's encouraged us to evolve our intelligence and to work to build better lives for ourselves and our descendants. So that's why we like the idea of there being more intelligent people out there in the universe that we can learn from, because that gives us the opportunity to advance as well.
Yes. Yeah. No, I believe you. I understand what you're saying.
What?
But
Not
having.
sure. I was just about to say, not sure what we'd give to them though.
Well, that just also depends on, where they are in their evolutionary state. If, for instance, if they're in a state where they don't know compassion, we can teach them compassion. We can teach them love. We can teach them the human things that we know and we take for granted.
But would they evolve those necessarily to get to the point where they are? That's a bigger question. I don't think you'd have a society without compassion, because there'd be no reason to not kill everyone, basically.
Yes.
Without compassion.
Well,
so.
I mean, then I'll ask you: do you need compassion with greed?
Compassion with greed. What do you mean?
So you say that because I know greed, you don't care about anyone but yourself, right? And for the society to be as greedy as it is, the only compassion that's out there is from the individuals in between the greed, So, and now I've just contradicted my entire question by answering it myself.
Well, you seem to be thinking of greed as an absolute, which it's not. It's on a scale. Everyone's greedy to some extent. That's just part of life. You need to get resources for yourself for you to survive. It's part of survival instinct. Others are greedy to the extreme where they just take everything they can get their hands on. But in a society, that's
compassionate though.
In a society, that's counterproductive, and that's where compassion comes in. The vast majority of people who donate to worthy charities are the rich people, the people you might consider the greedy people, because the poor people don't have the money to give to charities.
Depending. It depends. Some people give what they can, even if they can't. They do,
but they aren't the majority. Put it that way.
No, they're not.
And they certainly don't make up the majority of donations to worthy causes. I mean, look at Bill Gates. He's made billions, and he's basically on a mission now to give it all away before he dies. Make sure, put it in motion that even if he does die, it's given away. And he's made difference to literally millions of people's lives, poor people's lives in particular. Was he greedy to make the fortune in the first place? He would have had to have been to some extent. Some of it was just the situation he found himself in. He had the product and knew how to market it, and it just happened to some extent. But he had to have some driving ambition to make it happen. Is that greed? Like I said, it had to be greedy to some extent, but is it greed as in the Wolf of Wall Street type of greed? I'd say no, because he understands in a society, to get anything to happen, you've got to get people to work together, and that takes compassion.
I see what you mean. I see what you mean. So, then teaching any other extraterrestrial life out there, I think teaching them, if they don't know any other human, things, so feelings and other things that we take for granted every day, teaching someone that could also remind us about those feelings and all those human things that we have. I can't think of anything at the top of my head right now.
Yeah, but I guess my thought on that was that the things that we think of as human, are they universal in terms of a species that can get to the point where they're spacefaring?
I suppose.
Because how can you get there without that cooperation? And if you can't have cooperation without compassion, then how do they do that? The species the movie Independence Day, the species that invaded Earth and that, they seem very instinctual. And they were a hive mind, so they were working together. But they were just a destructive force. There was no compassion in what they were doing. So could that, it's fictional, of course, we're talking about a fictional species, could that actually arise without things like compassion? I don't know, maybe it's, if you think of them as space bees, maybe it could arise because it's just for the good of the hive, but I don't know. It's with total speculation, and I always feel uncomfortable with total speculation.
I think most people do.
Yeah, well, flirts don't, but that's their whole life.
They don't count. They don't count.
Or read and write.
Oh goodness. But I think that we're both on the same level as. I think having a more advanced than us is really awesome. We could learn from them, but being advanced means we have the room to be game changers, as it were. To be the ones that think out the box and discover, just the proverbial wheel over and over again. Space travel, to invent space travel, to invent something that helps us bend space-time, to invent the things that we need for space travel, instead of it being presented to us by an advanced alien species. So either way, I think it's awesome. Frightening if they're barbaric or have no compassion, but exciting nonetheless.
It would be, yes. But yeah, I, as Clive Wells said earlier, where is it? I have to scroll up now. Any advanced species would have to be a social species so that collective endeavours can take place, which is true. There's no way you can develop space travel without millions of people being involved and with different skill sets and knowledge. So it would have to be a social species, because a non-social species is just killing each other. We used to be like that until before cities were formed, and then we realised we were better together than we were apart, and that's just gone on from there. And now we're so populous, we have to get on with each other because we haven't got much choice. So otherwise, the world would have ended a long time ago. But we're still better off overall. The level of poverty worldwide has dropped dramatically in the last 30 years. So, I mean, I'm not saying that people in poverty right now are doing any better, but necessarily. But on average, it's we can feed people quite well at the moment, and they're better off than they're certainly better off than the 15th century. Put it that way. Yes,
definitely. Well, anything below the 21st century, they're a lot better off.
No, the 20th century was pretty good. The second half, anyway.
Second half, not the entire century. Then Clive says the universe is so large that being the most advanced in the universe seems rather irrelevant. In fact, even the nearest stars are so far away that we are essentially isolated.
Yes, and there's a thought that interstellar travel is actually impossible, totally impractical. It's probably a better way of saying. Because to get to Alpha Centauri, even if you could have enough energy to get up the speed of light, which you can't, because Einstein says you can't, assuming he is correct, it would take you 4 years to get there, and then 4 years to get back. So I should say Proxima, not Alpha. So if you would more practically go at half the speed of light, or much less than that, really, to accelerate any mass, you'd have to somehow make the mass have no mass, which is impossible at the moment. And that means you're talking centuries to get to just Proxima Centauri, let alone anywhere else.
Yes.
So that's just impractical because our lifespan isn't that long. So, and
But
you've
then
got time dilation effects and things like that. So, it's interstellar travel seems completely impractical based on what we know.
Yeah. Well, the only way it would be practical is if it's a multi-generational ship.
Yeah. And that means whatever arrives at the other end has the culture that's developed on the ship. It's not necessarily representative of the human race anymore.
Yeah.
So is that what you want to be your first exposure to other races?
Well, we don't know, because it all depends on the what the race that was in the ship turned out to be, more intelligent than us, or less intelligent than us. But going on the fact that they are seeing so much more and experiencing so much more, I don't know, maybe so. Maybe they would be a lot more intelligent than us because they've had that time to experiment experiment a bit more,
Yes, well, the key thing is based on our current knowledge. There's definitely knowledge out there we don't know yet that might enable us to make interstellar travel practical. But the other side is, apart from exploration, why would we want to go unless we know what's there? So we're going to have to send a probe first. So, and that's going to be slow. So it's going to be centuries before we even know what's at Proxima Centauri and whether it's worthwhile going there. We got a fair idea of what's there already. Probably by the time we get there, the telescopes and other systems that enable us to detect what's there, we're so good we don't need to go there anymore.
Yes.
Who knows? There's so much that could happen.
Yes. Well, I mean, to answer Clive's question, it is irrelevant because we will never be able to find them unless they find us first. But in that, it's yeah. So I understand what you're saying. I really do. Team also says, keep in mind the universe is still in its baby phase, given the time it will exist for. So to say that we evolved in the time period is fairly exceptional and a miracle. What do you think?
It sounds like he's catering to the religious enthusiasts, you might say, to some extent. I take the Douglas Adams approach to the world. In an infinite universe, anything, even the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, is possible. Of course, we don't live in an infinite universe. We know it's limited. But Einstein said that there's two things that are infinite in this world: the universe and human stupidity. He's not sure about the universe, and he was right. It's definitely a limited universe. So human stupidity, he's still right about, of course.
Yes.
People ask me what will happen once we've debunked all the flirts, and I said, well, there'll always be stupid people, so there'll always be flirts. So.
Not all of them will be flirts, but yes, I understand what you're saying.
But yeah, this is what this show's all about. We're thinking about things that are possible within our own knowledge, or things that are actually beyond our own knowledge. But it's fun to think about them because, it's fun to think about them because that's how we expand our knowledge. It gives us avenues to look for.
Yes.
If we don't start imagining them first, then we've got no chance of even looking at them. So that's why shows like Star Trek and all that sort of thing are quite important to our human development, because they get us to imagine what might happen, and then we can go looking for it.
I think it's actually really quite fun to have TV shows and movies that depict space and space travel and such like that. So I mean, it's not a very big movie. Jupiter Ascending is actually quite a cute little movie. And they explain why we don't, in the movie, they explain why we don't, see alien things happening is because, it's covered up before anybody even knows. Even like Men in Black as well. you neuralize before, so you don't remember what happened.
Well, that was a very good plot device for that movie, the neuralizer, because that explains why no one's ever, if they had that sort of technology, it explains why no one's ever spilled the beans. So it's very clever, but is that sort of technology possible? As far as I understand, it's not. But I might have been neuralized when I discovered it. So
it could have, would have, could have. We don't know. We don't know.
Imagine if the person who invents the neuralizer neuralizes themselves and forgets all about it.
That would be quite hilarious.
Yes. Well, they wouldn't know, would they?
No, they wouldn't. Team says, how quickly an aware species turns on itself and its resources. There may not be many aware species out there at any one time.
Yep. Anything's possible.
Yes.
I like Christian's comment, though. Team Skeptic has a giant inflatable meat tube in his backyard that he calls Darling.
Oh, there we go. Right at the bottom. There we go. Nice. What else?
Well, I just want to talk about that for a second. I thought it was fascinating that Simon and Dan came up with that concept. It's something completely innocuous. You can't say that he's deviant or anything like that. It's just an inflatable banana. He chose it was very smart, Simon and Dan. He chose something that goes viral without him being sued. Oh, he calls it honey instead of darling. All right.
There we go. Yes, he did answer.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see what else I can put up and we can discuss. Yes, Skydiver Tanner says, considering how large the universe is, the billions of galaxies containing billions of stars, it would be dishonest to believe that's the only intelligent life force. To believe we are the only intelligent life force. Yes, I believe that too.
Yep. The universe, last thing I saw was 93 billion light years across, I think, and which is interesting because I think the age of the universe is set at around 13 to 16 billion years, which means the universe has been expanding faster than the speed of light, theoretically, but apparently it does work out with relativity. So we can't even imagine a billion, let alone a universe that many light years across. We can't even imagine a light year, so can't imagine 93 billion of them. Actually, I might be confusing that with the distance of the sun, which is 93 million miles. And I go in kilometres, not miles, because I'm part of the world, so I'm not sure why I'm doing that. But anyway, yes, if you're in the world, you use metric. There's only one country in the entire world that doesn't have metric as an official measurement system. So time to catch up, guys.
Yes, it is time to catch up.
Yeah. Where were we going with that?
Skydiver was talking about
how big the universe is, but there must be something out there. Yeah.
Yes. But as Clive Wells says, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
But it's still cool to imagine.
So many things are cool to imagine. It's when you start believing them without evidence that it becomes a problem. But like I said earlier, you need to imagine things to be able to send scientific inquiry down that line. Otherwise, you just stay where you are.
Yes.
I mean, you just look at the advancement in the last 500 years, well, even 1,000, I guess. I mean, you look at 1,000 AD, 1,000 BCE, what is it? CE, 1,000 CE, compared to the time of Henry VIII. They made quite a lot of inroads in their technology in that 500 years, and we've gone exponentially since then. And the life of the average person is so much better than it was back then. We can cure minor ailments. People died of gout back in those days. I'm older than Henry VIII was, for example. He had so many things wrong with him when he got to the age of 53 or so. And I basically live. Well, I don't have armies to send into France and things like that, unfortunately, but like he had. But in terms of just day-to-day living, I live a life much better than his because I have medical advancements and technology and things like that. So we live like kings now compared to them.
Yes.
So that's the advancement of our society over that time. It's just amazing how quickly it happens. Who knows what's going to happen in the next 50 years? I mean, my earliest memory is the moon landing. I was 5 years old. What's going to happen in 50 years' time? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when they sent out that that all important announcement of asking for people to go on to, bless you.
Thank you.
I
was trying to be quiet.
That all important announcement of asking people to be on the Mars One mission. I was very close to signing up for it because I just wanted to go to space. I didn't care how or why. I just wanted to go to space. And thinking about it, I'm like, but hang on, I'm leaving so much behind, you know, family and friends. And at the time I was dating someone as well. So a lot of it factored into it. And maybe I'm glad I didn't say yes because, you know, it's only a one-way trip. You're not coming back, you know.
Well, no,
at the moment.
Assuming you get there, of course.
Yes. But at the moment, it's only a one-way trip. They may change their minds because the advancements of technology since that announcement has increased so much that they may be able to bring us back.
Yeah, well, by the time you get there, that might be possible, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, so, we don't know what's going to happen in the next 50 years. It's
yeah.
Well, we got an idea, but a whole lot of things have to go right. I'm a project manager for my job, and I have objectives, but part of my job is figuring out how I get to those objectives. And
yes.
So at the beginning of the project, I have some idea, but that changes every single day. And I eventually get there, of course, because that's my job. But how I get there is never matches what I started out to do.
Yes. Yes. Well, I mean, and now I forgot what I was going to say.
Talking about going to Mars, technology advancements.
No, I've lost it now. I've definitely lost it. Yeah, lots of people are talking about a lot of things in between each other. It's great to see you guys communicating with each other. It's really, really awesome. Yeah, look, I mean, Team Skeptic says something, travel stars and explore the universe. If not, then we are doomed to kill ourselves off eventually. I agree with that. Because we are destroying the only planet we have without even thinking. And, you know, unfortunately, if we don't get off this planet, we will destroy ourselves. But I'm hoping that eventually, you know, those few that will, you know, spend that money and spend the money to fix the planet that we're on, instead of trying to spend money to get off of it.
No, I think you can do both. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. And I have more faith in humanity. Humanity finds a way of solving problems, really, throughout history. They go down wrong corridors and realise the problem, and then come back and head off in a new direction. That's history in a nutshell, really. And then you've got individuals like Elon Musk come along and his $100 million challenge to help take carbon out of the atmosphere, or carbon dioxide, I should say. That's the sort of thing that forces always balance each other. And I don't mean physical forces. I mean political, human forces. For every dictator that rises and a democracy rises to oppose them, and vice versa. I have faith in humanity that we'll figure it out. Because we always seem to.
And that's the key word. We always seem to try and figure it out.
Yeah. The fact that we're still here shows that we figure it out.
Well, I don't want you to be late for your next show. So we do need to wrap this up. I want to just quickly welcome Dutch and Renee and me. You guys are extremely late, but thank you very much for joining nonetheless. I do appreciate every single one of you for joining, whether it's late or not. Also, every one of you putting in your comments, putting in your point of view, it's very much appreciated to keep the conversation going, to keep the conversation interesting. Not that the questions themselves are not interesting. It's just interesting to hear everybody's point of view.
Yeah, the more people contribute, the better, isn't it?
Yes. And, I mean, I could probably have, an entire conversation with the chat themselves, but I'd like to have someone to talk to on the show because I don't want to keep reading everybody's conversation when I could hear someone speak, That's just how I am. I like to talk to people, I mean, if it was up to me, I would have a voice call instead of having a chat call, a text call, I'd have a text conversation. I'd always opt for a call conversation because you can say so much more in a less amount of time.
Yeah, well, sometimes when there's a panel, people talk over each other a lot and it makes it a bit difficult.
That's why I have one person.
Yeah. Yes. And they, you're going along a line that you find very interesting, and then suddenly someone else takes the conversation off down another path. So that's always difficult. But yes, one-on-one works very well.
Yeah. Yes.
And get the chat to throw us things, and that's great too. We can talk about those.
Yes, definitely. Well, Hugh, what is next on your channel?
I should be having a live stream myself. I'm planning for, what's it in UTC? I guess that's Tuesday night UTC.
Mm-hmm.
Probably about 6 p.m, I think, same as this one.
Well, post the link in the chat for yourself. Or if someone can quickly grab it.
I haven't
if there's a link.
Yet, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
But then,
so just go to my channel.
Okay.
Look out for it. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, and then you'll get a notification of it when it comes up. So, yeah, and I've got several possible topics. I've got like 3 ideas going at the same time, and it's a matter of who's available when. One thing I'm trying to do, we've got 2 flat earthers to talk with a psychologist who specializes in conspiracy theories, and we'll have a look through that. It's always fascinating to delve into the mind of such people, and because I think they are a force in our society that a lot of people fall for, and that's a problem. And we discussed this earlier, and also we discussed forces.
Okay.
Good
Hello?
information. That's humanity.
Yes.
Oh, you hearing me?
I did hear you. You died there for 2 seconds.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my internet's not always the best. So there's always forces balancing each other out. So yeah, it'd be interesting to talk to them and see from their perspective as former flat earthers what one of them's very anti-flat Earth now. Be interesting to hear what they have to say, and also the psychologist's point of view to analyse what they're thinking.
Yes. Okay. And then the next stream that you're on, quickly post that if that has been
it's been delayed by an hour apparently. So.
Oh, okay.
Look it up. I'm on FDFE's Stupidity is Not a Right. So
okay. Well, post it in the chat if you like.
Yeah.
In the meantime, while you're doing that, the next show will be Blue Marble Science. He'll be joining me in 2 weeks' time on the 16th of May. So that's going to be interesting as well. So looking forward to that. So join me for that. And then the next Saturday will be our next Scientology episode. We'll be carrying on with the bridge. I enjoy these kind of things and learning these kind of things. And then my 2 tips that I got today one was $3.14 from Anonymous, and the message was because pie. And the next Anonymous
pie.
And the next tipper was also Anonymous. It was $5, saying, hope your channel grows more. Well, thank you, Anonymous and Anonymous, for the messages and the tips. I appreciate it very, very much. It's very much appreciated, and this money goes straight back into streaming and getting better equipment and so on. But thank you, everyone, guys. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Donate if you so wish. Also, consider Patreon. I very much appreciate that as well. And better charge you very, very late, but good morning. And thank you, everyone, for coming. I appreciate it very, very much. Please don't forget to go and join Hugh Jarsz on the next stream that he's on. And we'll see you in the next show. Cheers, guys.
See ya.